Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the June meeting of the Farmville Board of Commissioners. We appreciate you involving yourself with this process, local government process. Tonight, we're pleased to have with us Lester Gay. Reverend Gay is the pastor of Community Fellowship Ministries here on Main Street in Farmville. He's going to come and lead us in our invocation, after which I'll ask you to join with us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you all rise, please?
Good evening, Mayor, and to the commissioners, to the entire staff of Farmville. We do thank you and thank you. It's an honor to be able to come and pray with you. I do want to say that I mixed up my time. I was supposed to be at that meeting at 6 o'clock, so when I get through, I'm going to have to leave to go automatically to that meeting. Let us pray. Father, we bow before your presence first just to say thank you. Father, you've been good to all of us, and we thank you, God, for being God. And now, dear Lord, we ask that you will look on each and every one of these leaders. Father, it is you that give wisdom, knowledge, and most of all, you give us understanding. We ask you, Father, to look on Mayor, and we ask that you bless and strengthen his body for leadership, because we understand leadership is very important. And Father, we want to thank you for each and every one of the staff members that serve the town of Farmville. We ask that you strengthen them and bless them even more. Father, we ask that you be in every decision that we make. Help us, God, to do it out of unity of love for the town of Farmville. We do ask you to do this for us, Father. In Jesus' name I ask. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Again, I want to welcome you here this evening, and I trust that you picked up thank you. You picked up our agenda package as you walked in the door. If so, you'll be able to follow along with us this evening. We have an empty seat up here, chair. This belongs to Commissioner Alma Hobbs, and Alma is joining us by phone communication here. Alma, Commissioner Hobbs, will you acknowledge your presence?
Yes, I will. Good evening. And I hope that you have a great evening.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We miss you. All right. If you did pick up one of those agenda packages at the back, you'll see that we're now at item D, which is citizen presentation. This is where we ask you to sign up to present to this board anything that you would like to. We do ask you to sign up by 20 minutes after on the evening of the meeting, and we have 3 people here that have signed up. And the first one is Ernestine Bass. Ernestine, if you'll come tell us your name and where you...
My name is Ernestine Bass, and as most of you know, first of all, thank you for letting me come, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Ernestine Bass. I want to thank you for letting me express my concerns tonight. On April the 11th, about 11:15, I went into the town hall in reference to my cemetery plots I bought years ago. I had concern about my 6 plots I purchased and asked if someone could meet me at the cemetery, Hollywood, to locate my plots, and left my phone number and told them I would meet them there if they would give me 30 minutes notice. On April 16th, 2 weeks later, I came back into the town office about 9:30 to talk to them about my plots. I hadn't heard from them. I was told that they had not had time to go out to the cemetery to locate my plots because of rain and the Dogwood Festival. I asked them when I might expect a telephone call about my plots. They did not know. At that point, I asked to speak to the town manager. I went into the town manager's office and introduced myself and tried to explain my situation. He took my name and phone number, and I asked him when I left if I could expect a call from him. He never answered. Well, today is 9 weeks later. today. I have not heard from anyone at the town yet. I would like someone to meet me out at the cemeteries to locate my plots. I'm sorry to take up your valuable time with this matter. I thought I went through the right channels, and evidently I didn't. So I would like to thank you and appreciate anything that you could help me with.
Okay.
I could have gone to any one of you, but that's not the right way. I did what I thought was right. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand. You'll be hearing from us, I guarantee it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Judy Gidley.
I just want to thank y'all for allowing some people here in town to put on Music on Main. I just want to tell you that from a bunch of my little friends, I won't say little old lady friends, but they get mad at me. A bunch of my friends and I think it's a wonderful event. We love to see, it's a fun family night, and we love to see parents dancing with their children and their grandchildren, and it's just a fun affair. And also Sandra Joyner couldn't be here tonight, and she wanted to say the same thing and stand with me on this, because we think it's the best thing Farmville does for this town, is have Music on Main. Not only because we get to go to it and love to dance and have a good time, it's just a beautiful event that people from all over Eastern North Carolina come to Farmville, and some for the very first time. And they get to see what I found out 15, 16 years ago, that this is a wonderful town with wonderful merchants. The restaurants were loving and opening and friendly, just like everybody in Farmville always is. And it was just a great treat to these people from out of town. I had many people to call me and tell me over the years, over this last few times we've had it, that it's a great thing, to give me calls on the phone, and to also know that even though it's also great for these people from out of town, it also gives them a chance to see Farmville and see how beautiful it is, and know that it's like I've always said, Farmville is heaven on earth. And I just want to thank y'all for giving a chance to others to come in to see what I see every day. Thank you, and hope you continue it. That's it.
Thank you, Judy. Is it Georgia Randazzo? Yeah. Hey, did I pronounce that right?
Hey, I'm Giorgia Randazzo, and I'm Italian, you can understand from my name. And me and my family, we are the new owner of Farmville Pizza in the Main Street. And I'm here for the band. They organized an event on the Main Street 2 weeks ago, maybe, yeah. And we really like this, oh my God, I'm nervous, just a little bit. So it's the first time for me. You said?
I said, we are too.
No, it's the first time to parent somebody, and moreover in English is more hard for me, so I'm trying.
That's good.
And we really appreciate that they organize this event, because we really work a lot this day, and we really like the music that they brought on the street, and we really like it, so
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's all the citizen presentations we have. Now we're down to item E, which is town manager's comments.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Just a couple things quickly. Our Independence Day celebration is coming up. For those of you out here that don't know, we celebrate here on July 3rd, so that frees up your 4th for other activities. So we have a lot planned that day. The chamber has a little Patriots on Parade beginning at 5:30 at the Old Q's parking lot. Various events on Town Common from 6 to 9:30. We've got Tar River Band back, fireworks at nightfall, and we've got ice cream and hot dogs available. So it's a great family outing if I think anyone who's been out there has experienced that. It's very nice. Then the other thing I wanted to mention, we put some things out on social media, and just wanted to mention that, again, that we're in storm response mode from the storm last Thursday, and I think the staff has done a great job responding to that storm. Debris cleanup continues. We've put some things out on social media, and we hopefully will get some coverage in the local newspaper that people are urged to bring their debris out to curbside as soon as possible. Place small items in your brown rollout can, which is picked up by Waste Industries on Wednesday. And we will be collecting storm debris at curbside now through June 17th at no charge. We're not charging for any storm-related pickups. And obviously a lot of people have already gotten things out. We wanted to make sure there was a number of weekends involved. So there are 3 weekends since the storm, so hopefully that'll allow for people to get most all their items out. Public Works is collecting storm debris in a systematic pattern, so just because they haven't been down your street yet doesn't mean they won't get it. I think they started on Wilson and Church Street today, and I know it made a lot of progress. I went down both those streets today, and so we're making passes at all the streets, and then once we pass the street or house once, we'll go around town, and then eventually, maybe a while before, if you don't have it out now and they come down your street, it may be a few days or a week or two before they get back around, because they're going to go to on all the streets once before they start over. So I just want to urge everybody to get their debris out as quickly and safely as possible. And please don't put it in the street, put it on the curb if you can. And don't block sidewalks. Thanks.
Okay, is that it?
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to financial report. Do you have anything that you want to point out? The information that Commissioner Dixon asked for, is it in the, it's in, okay, you understand?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So, all right, at this time, we're gonna do something a little bit different. We are going to have a closed session as authorized by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 land acquisition. Now, normally we have our closed session in here, but because there's so many of you here and we're doing it at the beginning of the meeting, I'm going to ask the board if they would consider us going back into the jury chambers and leave you in place, and hopefully we'll be back in just a few minutes. Is there a motion that we go into closed session for this purpose?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Elk that we go into closed session. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We have, the ayes have it. Commissioner Hobbs, I don't know where we'll have to leave you in here, I guess.
We can,
And you tell me we were gonna put her on cell phone?
Yeah, we're gonna
Mayor,
call
she'll
her.
be on cell phone.
yeah.
She'll be on cell phone.
Okay. All right, let's go back here, and we'll be back shortly.
Ask
Gonna
her.
call me back?
Yeah, please hang up now, and then we'll call you back in there.
Say, motion wants to make.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Under changes, additions, and deletions, that's where we are. I'd like to make a motion that we place as item 4A, which will be the first item for consent, to vote and approve the acquisition for the new land for the new fire station.
Okay. Do you, you want it included in the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. No, sir. Not under consent agenda, item 4A, which will be the first item we address.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
That's, comes under the heading of changes, additions. All right. He made that motion. Is there any discussion about adding this item? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it, and it's item 4A on the consent agenda will be the land acquisition. All right. We're now down to public hearings, and the first one is financing proposal for the library. And David, I'll look to you for that.
Okay. before we get to that, we do have two other items that we need to add to the agenda that I placed at your place. There is the 2018 CDBG NR and 2018 CDBG I plans and policies approval, and there's also the grant, accepting the grant, the budget, and authorizing the manager to procure and contract for services for the 2018 CDBG I funding, which is the Basin 5. So before we leave the changes and additions and deletions, we need to add those two items if you want to.
I don't think that could be under the consent agenda. Is that right?
Yeah, it would be better not to have it under
Okay,
consent.
let's make this 12 and 13.
That'd be fine.
Is that right? Item 12, and tell me what that is.
Okay, let's say 12 is CDBG NR and CDBG I plans and policies.
Okay, CDBG I is the first one. That'd be 12, and then 13 be the,
Can we, Rich, can we handle it together, those two, or do they have to be separate? No. Okay.
yeah. Let's make it 2 items, 13. Tell me the official thing on 13.
Okay, so CDBG I would be, CDBG NR is 12, CDBG I would be 13, and then you need a 14 for the 2018 CDBG I funding, which is the Basin 5 grant project.
All right, you said we need 3 items to be added?
Yes, sir.
CDBG NR, and it's 12, and CDBG I is 13, and 14 is, tell me again, 14.
CDBG I funding, that's the Basin 5 sewer.
Okay, everybody understand what saying here? You get this, Al? Dr. Hobbs?
Yes, I did. I have it and I printed it off.
All right. And let's have another motion to add these to the agenda. This all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Motion to add these to the agenda. Anybody?
Make the motion that we add these to the agenda.
All right. Motion's been made by Commissioner Shocker that we add these to the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thanks, Al. Don't let us forget that you run off and leave you. Okay. All right. So now we're down to going into the consent agenda, and I forgot where my sheet
No,
is.
public hearing.
Public hearing.
Public hearings.
Yeah, I can't find my sheet that I had. All right. Public hearing, tell us, David, introduce that to us.
Okay. Mayor, members of the board, this is a public hearing that's required by the state of North Carolina. We have, of course, for the last 2 years, worked on the library project, and part of that funding entails, there's a mixture of grants, donations, and we always anticipated some funding from another source, meaning the town or cash or financing. And so we have been talking with the State Local Government Commission about how we might finance this project. And so what this is and what the public hearing's about is not about the project itself. That's actually coming the next meeting. It's about authorizing submission of an application for financing with the North Carolina Local Government Commission, which is in the Treasurer's Office. So there is a resolution in your packet that speaks to an authorization under 168-20 to permit an installment purchase agreement, which is the most common financing method used in North Carolina.
All right. Okay, you've heard the introduction to this public hearing. This is a public hearing for the proposal of a library project, funding, such. So this is your time if you want to address this board about this. It's a public hearing. Just come forward and tell us who you are and what your comments are.
Hello, Mayor and Board. My name is Todd Edwards. I live at 4227 Belcher Street, which is about 200 feet that way. Glad to be with y'all tonight. I do understand this is a public hearing on financing of this project, and I just wanted to basically come tonight and encourage wise decisions, especially now I understand that the bids have come back at $5 million, and you know, before the town jumps in, I think I've spoken with probably most of y'all individually along these lines, and I'll say right out the gate, first and foremost, I'm not anti-library. But having 30 years experience in the building business, not long after I moved here, that library was renovated, I think, in 1997 to the tune of about $1.7 million. Before coming here tonight, I re-listened to the January board meeting where the presentation by the architects was made. In that meeting, they list 3 price components that drove the price of the renovation to be pretty much equal to the new construction cost. 2 of those, though, the 2 major factors in that, one was a design issue that required a much larger building because of the sight lines and wanting that to be fully visible from one spot, the entire library. Which required a much larger addition to the existing building for that one requirement. The other major component to that, cost component to that, was the fact that the second floor was not rated for books, which is understandable. Books are extremely heavy. It's a whole nother low rating classification, but it did not deem that building unsuitable for other uses. And so what I would like to encourage, not only for the library, but I'm thrilled to hear that y'all have a space for the new fire station. I can tell you, after doing some renovations work around here, the police station is far from adequate. As with any town, we are constantly in need of upgrading our recreational facilities. And, you know, money is, whether it's cash reserves or whether it's money borrowed, money is hard to come by. And I liken the library, for lack of a better way of describing it, as if I had a 5-year-old car, still a pretty good car, but had some miles on it. If I had a 5-year-old car sitting in my driveway or in my garage, and I decided I wanted a brand new truck. Well, I don't call up the junk man and say, come haul this 5-year-old car off, because I'm getting a new truck. I try to extract value out of it first. And to me, it seems just incredibly, especially as a builder, it seems incredibly wasteful to tear down the building that's there to replace it. There is value to that building. The argument was a cogent one, and it was well made by the architects. That is a very poor situation for the library as it stands. And if it's got to be right there, I totally agree that tearing down is the way to go. What I disagree with is, does it have to be right there? With all of our other needs we have as a town, I would like to stop, call a timeout before you start pursuing financing, especially at the stepped up level now. We're in a whole nother ballgame. It's at least another $1 million. And I can tell you with construction costs these days, nothing comes in on budget. So you might as well add another 10 to 15% to that. If you're looking at financing, if you're looking at something, stop and take a moment and look at all of our needs. I think you need to hire another architectural or planning firm and look at all the needs of the town, everything. As far as I know, that building has been majorly renovated more recently than any other building in this town. So we're going to tear down our most recently renovated building, which that disturbs me. That building does have value. Our downtown, this very board has approved facade grants and other improvement grants to buildings that are far older and far worse shape than that building. So what I would like to encourage is a wise decision, and I think it's a step-back decision, where some master planning, where all the needs of the town are laid on the table, and priority. And if over the next 10 years, if you got $20 million to spend, but the expenditures are going to mount up to 30, then rank them. What's more important? Is the library number one? Is the police station number one? Is the fire station number one? But rank these things until the money runs out. And also, if we're going to spend $5 million on the library, can it go somewhere else? Can something else be repurposed in that building with very little expenditure as compared to the major overhaul it'll take to refit that building as a long-term library? That's the kind of stuff I do in my business all day long. And in the private sector, all day long, we look how to stretch things, how to make things work, how to make things go. And I've always found this board to be a very wise board. Y'all made very wise decisions. And I just want to encourage, in this case, a bird's eye view, looking down, looking at all the needs of the town, looking at all the possible repurposing of that building. And if in the end, that building has no value and has no other value for anything but a library or a library in that location, then do what you need to do. But I just can't help but think, with all the departments I've noticed crammed up, jammed up, short of space, this or that if that library weren't built somewhere else, that building could not be repurposed well for a long-term use in some other way. And that's really all I had to say tonight. And I just wanted to leave you off that encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Anyone else? If not, then we will close the public hearing at this time, and we'll move on with our decision on information that Todd shared with us, as well as other things that you're aware of. So, anybody? I think what Todd said is that he would like to see us slow down a little bit on this, but I don't
Mary
know.
Evans, I have a couple of things I'd like to say, if I can, please.
Okay.
There's been some misconception, I think, on some information that was read out of the local paper, and this information, the accurate information, was shared, but I'd like to share it again now. And it is based on the accounts of the juvenile library information. And I'm going to read you a few things. I hope you all will just give me a moment. Every public library in North Carolina is required to submit an annual report to the State Library of North Carolina at the end of every fiscal year. Libraries who are part of the State Library maintain NC Cardinal Consortium, Farmville is one of those libraries, have much of the survey already pre-filled, since the State Library has access to their and Farmville's database. As an aside, pre-filled data cannot be manipulated by any library. The total registered juvenile users category is made up of minors who have a Farmville Public Library card, as well as Pitt County school students who are part of our Student Access Program, which allows them to use their student ID in lieu of a library card to access educational materials. To provide the latest numbers for this information, the State Library accessed our database to run a report on May the 29th, 2019, to determine the makeup of the registered juvenile users. This report shows that there are 34,942 juvenile accounts, Farmville Public Library card holders, and student access accounts. 33,327 total student access accounts, and 1,615 juvenile Farmville Public Library card holders. The most recent student access file was uploaded in January and included 23,724 accounts. And if you take into account our existing 1,615 juvenile library card holders, you were left with 9,603 student access accounts still in our database that have expired, or in other words, students who have graduated or moved away from Pitt County Schools jurisdictions. So, why have these expired accounts been removed from our database? Or why haven't they, excuse me? Johnny Pippin, the North Carolina Cardinal Consultant at the State Library of North Carolina, stated, as for purging the expired accounts, that is a discussion to take place once we have the Patron Purge Project take off, which is a project they have going on. Our timeline would be the summer of 2019, but have not set up an exact timeline for our Cardinal projects yet. So, for anyone that has questioned the juvenile library card information, here is your information. I have plenty of copies. I have about 15. I'll be glad to share that with anybody that would like to have it, and anybody that would like to share it with anyone else. The other thing that I would like to say is we've not taken this library acquisition or this library project, like we didn't decide yesterday we wanted to have a new library, and today we decided what we were going to do. David Miller and his staff have been working for years to see exactly what we need. And there have been many public hearings that have been scheduled for various things. In January, we met with the architects. David and his group have met with them probably hundreds of times. Details were provided for continuing renovation and expansion, as well as new construction based on uncovered structural and geotechnical issues. A public hearing for citizen input was approved for February of 2018. In February of 2018, they came and we had a public hearing. After citizen feedback, the Board of Commissioners voted unanimously to proceed with new construction. In March, the architects came and held a design workshop at the H.B. Sugg Elementary School for public input and feedback. And I remember seeing quite a few of you in the audience that night, and they gave everyone free rein to stand up and talk about what they wanted to see in our community library. On April the 5th, there was a second design workshop at the Farmville Community Center for public output and feedback. I unfortunately could not attend that night, so I cannot tell you who was there, but I'm sure David Miller probably has a list. In June, they presented the renderings to the Board of Trustees for feedback. The end of June, they came to us and presented them to us, and we unanimously approved the renderings and the design based on what we had heard from our citizens and from the architects and the library staff. In February, the architects came back and they presented drawings and updated project schedules to all of us. And on May the 29th, they came and met with the library board and with our town manager to discuss facility cost-saving measures. And this started long before January of 2018. It's just, that's when the move started to do it. I also have copies of this if anybody would like to share this. And the only thing else that I'm going to say right this minute is that David Miller is an excellent, excellent librarian. And this town is extremely fortunate to have him, more than anything that I can think of. He could leave today and go to the Library of Congress and be an excellent librarian on their staff. And he will be glad to talk to anyone that would like to discuss what's going on at the library. He will show you the cracks in the wall. He will show you where the floor is crumbling when you walk in. He will show you how heavy the stacks are. And he is open to questions. But that's what they should be, is questions, not accusations, but questions. Thank you, Mr. Evans, for
Okay.
letting me have that time.
All right, thank you, Brenda. That's more consideration. Now, remember, we're not voting on the library project, but on how to fund it. Is that right, Mr. Town Manager?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any other comments up here from this board? Commissioner Hobbs, do you have any comments?
No, I do not have this comment.
Okay. All right, then. I guess we're down to where we make our decision about the item that's on the agenda. And so I'll ask for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion, we adopt the resolution authorizing the town to file an application with the local government commission for the library, financing the library project.
Very good. You heard the motion? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The ayes have it, and we will move forward with the financing. Thank you. All right. Next is agenda item 3, which is another public hearing, and David, I'll call on you to introduce this.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. At the last meeting, I presented the proposed annual budget for 2019-2020. Since that time, the document has been available for public inspection at the library and at Town Hall. We have advertised this as a public hearing as required. This board held a budget workshop on the 14th of May and made several changes to the document. And also, there were a few items that I suggested changing at that time to also address some things that had come up since the budget was prepared. So in your packet, you will see a spreadsheet in blue that outlines all the items that you, or the accounts that are affected by the items that you added on the 14th, as well as a few other items that we discussed also then that I identified at that time. The net result is that the general fund increases by $44,000. The water fund is a wash. There is no change. There are a couple line item changes, but the net is no decrease or increase. There's no change in the sewer fund. In the electric fund, there's a $12,000 increase. So when all is said and done, basically have $56,000 in differences from the original budget document. So that's in your packet. It is also reflected in the budget ordinance that you have also in your packet. And this is what you would be asked to adopt to implement the budget for fiscal year 2019-2020, which begins July 1, 2019.
Okay. All right. This is time for another public hearing, and this one is on the budget. So if you would like to speak to this board about the budget, please come forward and do so. Seeing there is no comments, we'll close the public hearing at this time. And David, at 56,000, is that what we said?
That's the net increase overall, 12 in the electric fund and 44,000.
Did we address these changes in the workshop?
this implements all the changes that the board said they wanted to add through the course of
So
that.
the only thing we need then is to deal with the budget ordinance. We don't have anything to change.
No, sir. I mean, I think that in the workshop, you actually did say that these are the changes you want to make as a board, so. But I mean, if you'd like to adopt the changes, that's fine, but.
Yeah, maybe we ought to do that. So, the two motions I'm looking for here, one is to accept these, or adopt the, I guess accept is a better word, the changes that the town manager mentioned, and also the total of the budget. So, could I have a motion? We adopt those. If I understand what I said. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Shackelford that we accept or adopt the changes. All those in favor, or is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. Then we need to adopt the budget ordinance, which reflects these changes that we just approved. So, since you had no question on the other one, I'll accept a motion to adopt the budget ordinance for 2019, 2020. Okay.
Make a motion, we adopt the budget ordinance for 2019, 2020.
All right. You heard Commissioner Dixon's motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. Did you vote on that, Dr. Hobbs?
I did.
Okay. All right, now we're going down to items for consent, and we have several of them. One that we just added on the land requisition at our closed session. Yeah, as I always ask you, is there anything that you want pulled off of the consent agenda and to discuss? Anybody have anything they want to?
Mayor, just to be clear, are we okay with the acquisition of the land for the fire station under the consent, or do we need to move that over to item 7 under the items for decision, just to be on the.
I like Commissioner Moore's idea to move it to items for discussion.
Yeah, I noticed that after I apologize to the board for that, but I think we would be well served, because it'll take us 30 seconds to get there anyway.
I would think that would be wise.
I think that would be more appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't like it there on the consent agenda. Okay, all right, so we moved that off, and assuming that you wanted to talk about it, just a matter of where it came on the agenda. All right, any other items you want to move off the consent agenda? All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye. Was there a motion?
Motion. Give me a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the changes to the consent agenda. Is that what that what you're looking for?
Yeah. All right, you heard the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you. All right, now we're at items for discussion and decision, and item 7 would be the land acquisition for the fire station, I think. Did you, who wants to, you want to deal with that? Manager?
Yes, sir, unless Commissioner Morris.
No, sir.
Okay.
I'd appreciate it if you would do it.
Okay, I'll be glad to. What is before you is a contract to purchase, or real property exchange, actually, whereby the town would acquire, I think it's 2.3 acres of land, which is located, it includes the Reds TV site on the corner of Horn Avenue and May Boulevard, as well as a couple of acres behind it. Actually, the total is 2.41 acres, I believe. The land behind that property, which would be between Reds TV and the National Guard Armory and area to the rear, this would be acquired from Frank Stiers and Palco Investments. And this acquisition would be a part of a land swap or building swap, whereby the town would trade the existing fire department property and acquire this property with an additional cash consideration from the, I guess, the seller of the land. So the town would come out, basically there'd be no cash out of pocket for the town. Town would be $75,000 to the good. And then the town would, in essence, during the interim period, lease back the town or the fire department property over a 3 to 5 year period of time at an extremely low rent rate while we are designing and building a new fire station on the new site.
All right. Okay, board, and we've talked about this already today. By the way, this ought to be a 7A or 8A, because we already got a 7 and an 8. Let's make that 7A. All right. Any discussion? Consideration? Is there a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make the motion, please, and then after the vote, I'd like to make a comment, please. I'd like to make a motion that the town acquire the land as stated by the town manager.
Okay. Board, you've heard the motion that Commissioner Moore made. Any discussion on that? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? You said aye, didn't you, Dr. Hobbs?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. Now, Commissioner Moore wants to make a
Now, I'll be
comment.
brief. After the fire department, who I have a great deal of respect for, came to us and we located which side of town you wanted to be on, Phil Lewis and Phil came to Farmville, and I said, I got an idea I want to share with you. And I want to thank Phil Lewis for sharing my vision to move the fire station over there. I want to thank the fire chief and his assistant chiefs who are here tonight to bearing with us and giving us time to work through this. That was certainly a big thing to help us get through it. I want to thank Brenda Elks for sharing my vision. I want to thank the board when I brought it to them in the closed session in February for listening to me, and I want to thank Commissioner Shackford for his encouraging words on this project. I want to thank James Dixon for his real estate expertise. I want to thank the town manager because I was calling them about every day to do this. In the long run, we had a fire station. What we're going to do with it, now it'll belong to Phil Lewis. The Reds TV building will go away, and that is a good thing. And so there are a lot of other people I want to thank, but to the citizens of Farmville, I want to thank you for trusting this board and allowing us the time to work through this. And I cannot speak for the fire department, but they are here, and I think they are more than pleased with the acquisition that the town has voted on tonight. Is that fair, Chief? Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. We've had the vote already. So we'll move on to item 8, and that's the music on Main.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Commissioners. We had a very successful Music on Main last time, and we have come before you to ask again to have Music on Main. This time it will be a Tuesday night again, August the 13th, same time, and basically everything would be the same. The group that we will be bringing will be Steve Owens in Summertime. They have a big following, and I'm looking forward to bringing another group from out of town to showcase Farmville, to show them exactly what we have to offer. And so I just want to bring this to the board and let you know what we're planning.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Jay? Donnie, when do we need to get permission to close the street?
And also, this will be a back-to-school drive. We were going to have a back-to-school drive to help do some things for the schools to help supply some things for some of the kids who do not have that opportunity. So that's another part of it. So,
Do we need to take formal action on the closing the street? Sure. We need to take formal action on closing the street. Okay, we can do that in July?
okay. All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Jack. Keep up the good work. All right. Next is a consideration of an agreement with Maylou to lease the building and other improvements on North Walnut Street, which is the old depot.
In your packet is an agreement, proposed temporary, or lease agreement for a temporary library location. Obviously, the library project, once it gets going, it's going to take 18 months to 2 years to construct. And in the meantime, we don't want to be without a public library. So we worked out a lease agreement with the owner of the depot, which happens to be Phil Lewis, for an 18 to 24 month duration to lease the property for use by the library during that time. This is the site located at 3488 North Walnut Street, which also includes the area to the rear along Wilson Street, which would be a parking area. Everything is of sufficient size to accommodate our library on a temporary basis, not on a permanent basis. And the owner is doing basic upgrades to accommodate our temporary use at his expense. The consideration in the lease is that we talked about some sort of joint parking area that the town would be able to use and he would be able to use on a perpetual basis. The parking spaces along Walnut Street in front of that building would be available for use by the town, obviously during the occupancy, but also beyond that point. And also there would be efforts to do a parking area to the rear, accessed off of Wilson Street, that also would add more parking in the downtown area for his ultimate use in that building and also for just general use by the public in the town in perpetuity. So that's so again, no money out of pocket other than developing a joint parking area in the rear.
All right, anybody have any questions for town manager on this? Okay, what's your pleasure then?
I make a motion that we sign this lease and, I guess it's a lease, or that we sign this information in this lease that we rent from Phil Lewis for the depot for the library.
Under the conditions that,
Right, under the conditions that are on the actual lease.
okay. Y'all heard the motion. Is there any discussion?
Just for the sake of doing it, Chris, are you good with this lease? I'm assuming you.
I prepared it. So
Yeah, okay.
David and I collaborated on it. I talked to Phil Lewis of Maylou, and we are all in agreement on the terms.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Any more discussion? Further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
No. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. And that takes us down to item 10, an easement on Wallace Street.
Okay, this is mine.
Whose is this?
I think Justin's handling
The next item up, this is for easement. So this next item will be an easement for Piedmont Natural Gas. And I actually have here this evening from Burns and McDowell, a couple of representatives, if you have any questions of them. Out there currently, there is a gas gate station located on Wallace Street. What Burns and McDowell and Piedmont Natural Gas are looking to do is to replace that facility. What they're looking at, the property that's there on the corner is currently owned by the town. It's a brownfield site. Burns and McDowell had approached the town about purchasing an easement off of that property to replace the gas gate station. Upon the completion of the gas gate station, Burns and McDowell and Piedmont Natural Gas would actually remove the existing gas gate station that's located there. The site in which it would be located is zoned industrial, so they already had to come before the Board of Adjustment back in April. What they were looking to put there would be specified as a special exception, so they had to go through the quasi-judicial Board of Adjustment process. The Board of Adjustment approved this back at the April meeting. If you have any more questions, I'll be glad to fill those. Also, as I mentioned, we have a couple of representatives from Burns and McDowell here.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
Do you happen to have any kind of a picture of some sort we could see? I'm trying to picture, I obviously know what this existing site looks like, but I'm trying to visualize what the new site will look like relative to the existing site.
We do. Burns and McDowell, they send us a rendering of what it would look like. It would be very similar, I would say, to what they currently have existing there on the site. But yeah, we do have a photo that they submitted. That was submitted as a part of the Board of Adjustment packet that we could get to you to look at.
Not going to impede the sale of that property.
No, sir. No, sir.
Is it, I'm looking at the survey, is it roughly, we would roughly be losing 100 by 100?
That's correct.
And is any of that 100 by 100, do we have total control of that now, or does it have easements going through it currently? Do you know?
I refer back to...
I don't think so. You mean, like coming off the street, like outside the right of way?
Yeah, I just,
I think all the utilities in that area would be within the street right of way.
they were within the street.
As far as I know,
Do we need to know that?
it'd be, I mean, we didn't check for that because that'd be very unusual if it were, I mean, most of our utilities are within our street right of way in that area.
Is there development potential? I mean, is there a development benefit from it in addition to the?
You're asking in terms of with the replacement of it, why kind of the reasoning behind the replacement, is that sort of what?
Well, I mean, from the town of Farmville, I understand how is it benefiting them, and is there a benefit to us other than $2,800?
Would you like to speak to the?
Name's Greg Smith. This is Angela and Crowder. We're with Burns McDonnell, the engineering company that's working with Piedmont Natural Gas to replace the city gate. Would you mind repeating the question?
So what's I mean, we want to be a good neighbor to Piedmont, of course, and certainly we are, responsible to the town of Farmville.
Absolutely.
I feel like the benefit to the town of Farmville is $2,800, which is finite. What's the benefit to Piedmont, and is there a benefit to the town of Farmville because of the benefit to Piedmont? Is Piedmont going to be able to broaden its service area or improve its service to our industrial corridor there?
Sure. So I would say that the purpose of the project is to upgrade existing facilities. It is an aging city gate. I would also say that the city gate is a location where transmission gas is stepped down to distribution levels. So it would give us the opportunity to increase demand in the future if the demand were there, I would say, because it's a larger footprint. Though, like I said, I believe the intent of the project is replacing aging infrastructure and also allowing a corridor to maintain the existing transmission pipeline that runs under the existing facility.
Okay. So you couldn't use the existing facility because you have to keep it operational while you build something new?
Correct.
Is that what
Yeah.
I understand? I feel like this lot that we're talking about, that the town of Farmville owns, is a very valuable commercial lot. And we spent some time in our closed session tonight talking about the value of commercial lots in Farmville. And I'd hate to see us give up some potentially valuable property for essentially no money.
Yeah.
No offense to you guys, you're doing your job.
I'm not sure what, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure what the remaining acreage here is, but I don't believe we're rendering the lot unbuildable. I do believe that there is a good footprint to the west of this that you can there's still development potential there.
We don't have a full survey in front of us, but I feel like the total lot that we have there is somewhere in the ballpark of 2 acres.
That's what I was going to say too.
Have you talked with any of the adjacent property owners about perhaps?
So this is 0.25 acres is the easement area.
Okay. You got any more questions?
I'd like to help them figure out an alternative.
Understand.
Mayor, I can't get behind this because I think most everybody in here knows I have a vision of building and begging and pleading and asking the Boys and Girls Club to eventually relocate on that lot. And if it becomes unbuildable, then that's something that I can't get behind. I think it's the perfect place for the Boys and Girls Club. And I have lobbied for it for quite some time, and I just think maybe we could do something different. And here again, that's just because I've got this vision of the Boys and Girls Club being there. And that may never happen, but break my heart.
What would you do if the board did not decide to grant this easement?
Honestly, I'm not sure. There are limited places for us to go because relocating a transmission line is a big deal. It's a large project. It's not done overnight. It takes, frankly, probably years of planning. Given the proximity to both the transmission and distribution networks here, this is an ideal location. It is easy for us to maintain service while constructing a new city gate in that area. That's probably a little above my level as far as grid planning goes as to where we would have to put a new facility. So I'm not sure that I could answer that.
Okay. All right, board, any other questions?
I mean, could you go 100 yards from there, 300 yards from there? I mean, how far away from there could you go and still be efficient?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Not sure either. It's a good
Yeah, I'd
question.
have to ask one of the engineers.
So, do we need to table this
Sounds like we do.
and come back once they have more information and once we can take a better look at it to see what our losses would be and what our gains would be?
I like Commissioner Elt's idea.
Okay, let's handle it with a motion then to table it tonight until they can come back with answering your questions. And I suppose well, Commissioner Moore had a question. He wants to build something else there. We all want to be able to use the lot because we got a lot of money in it. And
Sure.
so if you can come back and show us where the benefit would be to put it there and not somewhere else. And that the lot would be eligible for a plant or a Boys and Girls Club or whatever.
I guess that would depend on the footprint of the Boys and Girls Club, right? I don't know how big that structure.
And again, that depends on who you talk to.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
And if it would need gas service as well, distribution service, it would be right there to provide.
We have a boys club, and it does a fabulous job.
Sure.
but we have not. But really quick, just so you give you background, in Faison, North Carolina, the former mayor of Faison's here tonight. They had a gym and they made it a public-private gym, which the town looked after, but you could pay to be a member of it. If I wanted to be a member, I could, but it wasn't operated with taxpayers' money. And we have a gym, and the Boys and Girls Club, to me, would be more conducive to be on that street right there. The buses run right by there and so forth and so on. But that's a vision, and that's a whole lot more boards. And I was on the Boys and Girls Club. In fact, I was chairman of the board many years ago. And I haven't been able to talk to the right person to do that yet. So, but that's just one of those things. And before I throw the baby out with the bathwater on that, I'd like to make for sure that somebody might wake up and say, well, we might consider that. So, but I have a real problem with not being able to build on that piece of land. I think that's the biggest thing that sticks out. With me.
We can't
Whatever it may
go
be.
for $2,800.
I don't want anybody going out here and saying I'm an advocate for shutting the Boys and Girls Club. No, I'm a big advocate for building a new one. But
it might be helpful for us to have somewhat of a schematic on where it's going to be and what kind of restriction impose on us.
How much time have we got?
I don't know.
Well, we were hoping to construct soon. Well, we would have started construction after, in the next month or so.
I'm sure, I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure everybody else up here will gladly volunteer some personal time to work with you guys through our staff to help expedite the process.
All right. Commissioner Ellis, did you want to make a motion to table this?
I'll make a motion that we table at this time, and David, Justin, will this be enough time at our next meeting to put it back on the agenda? Or because if not, then it's going to be August before.
Our next meeting is June 24th. It's 3 weeks. So is that enough time to get the information?
Justin, does that give you enough time? Okay, that we put it back on the agenda for our June 24th meeting.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's your motion? All right, y'all heard the motion. Any discussion on this? All those in favor of tabling this item tonight and bringing it back on the 24th, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. Thank y'all. Okay, agenda item number 11. It's consideration of agreement with Allen Family Holdings. David, you gonna take that one?
Yes, sir. In your packet is a proposed lease for some land that was discussed with you previously. It's located between the Oliver Murphy Walking Park and our fishing pond out on 121 North. There is a couple of large tracts out there, and we have some interest in, well, the seller or the owner of the property has interest. We've had some discussions with them, and they are interested in working with the town to allow us to develop some recreational opportunities out there. We've talked about nature trails, greenways. We talked about even disc golf recently. There's a lot of possibilities out there. The land is flood prone, so it's not really buildable for standard development. So in your packet is a lease agreement, which is a 10-year lease agreement to lease this property at a cost of $4,000 per year for years 1 through 5, and that goes up to $6,000 a year in years 6 through 10. I will want to point out that there are a few minor changes that were made since the document that's in your packet was done. I direct you to section 5, modification to premises. At the end of that sentence, after finds necessary or desirable for utilizing the property for recreational purposes as is contemplated, there's some additional language. Tenant agrees to obtain the prior written consent of landlord before undertaking any modifications to the property that might be characterized as major. So that's an added item. And then there's a new section 6 that basically says that the tenant does not have the right to assign or sublet the property in whole or in part. And then there's a section 11. It talks about condition of property at surrender. And basically it's saying that at the time when we return the property to the owner or the lease term ends, that we have to return it in, remove any sort of additions or things that we've added to the property related to, our use of the property. And then in the section on purchase price, it says we've added if the tenant elects to exercise the option to actually purchase the property during the first 5 years of the lease agreement and prior to June 30th, 2024, that the price is $150,000. If the tenant elects to exercise the option to purchase between 2000, is that supposed to be 2000?
Yeah, that's the changes, 2024.
2024 and 2029. In other words, the last 5 years of lease, then the purchase price would be negotiated based on prevailing land values in the area, and they would be negotiated in good faith. So basically, the agreement in your packet is intact other than the changes that I've outlined. So this is there for your consideration. Be glad to answer any questions. I think the owners of the property are in attendance as well.
Okay, I have a question now. We own the pond site already.
That's correct.
And so what we're talking about here is that property that's between Murphy Park and the pond site.
Correct. There's two parcels. One is 30, well, actually there's three. There's one that's 34.62 acres. That's immediately adjacent to the walking park. And then there's another one which is 63.77 acres, which goes from that parcel all the way out to 264 bypass. And then there's a small piece of property up front, and I don't remember the actual acreage of that, but it's
About 3/4 of that.
3/4 of an acre. So the total is about 100 acres in all.
So we're gonna look at what we can do that whole 100 acres.
Yes, sir, yes. And some of that area is, I mean, it's already, there's been some preliminary review. I know Commissioner Dixon was out there, and I know some other staff folks have been out there and looked at the area. And we feel like there's a lot of potential for some good recreational use out there for the public. And some facilities we don't have now.
And this lease becomes effective when? Immediately when we approve?
Well, July 1st.
July 1st, okay.
Yeah.
All right, boys, anybody have any questions?
I'm actually excited about it myself.
Yeah, I think this is, we have a night full of kind of exciting
we do.
developments, and this is definitely one of them. And thank you to the Stowe family that's here and the rest of the Allen family for offering us this opportunity. I think it's something that we'll be able to take major advantage of and end up with something really, a really nice addition to the town.
Absolutely.
All right. Anybody else want to comment on this? If not, one of you two people, give me a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve the lease agreement for the roughly 100 acres.
That's a lot of land.
It is.
It's a Louisiana purchase.
Or Seward's Folly.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you, Alma. I hadn't forgotten you. Okay, now we're down to item 12, which is CDBG NR, I guess. And Richard's gonna lead us through this, right?
Yes, sir.
And, you know, what we've got and certainly the follow-up action that we're going to request is very similar. But the town's been offered and has accepted a $750,000 Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization Grant through the Department of Commerce. As part of that acceptance, the town is required to adopt some program compliance plans and policies that just ensure that the town is going to comply with HUD regulations that govern this program. And so what we've got for consideration is a copy of those policies and plans. They include Equal Opportunity Plan, Section 3 Plan, Procurement Plan and Code of Conduct, Language Access Plan, Citizen Participation Plan, Fair Housing Plan, Excess Force Policy, Anti-Displacement Relocation Assistance Plan, and a Section 504 Grievance Procedure. And again, these are required by HUD for any active recipient and participant in their program. And they are also policies that the town previously adopted when the town was awarded the 2013 Community Development Block Grant Infrastructure Grant, with the one slight change being in the Section 3 plan. Prior versions were primarily to identify efforts to solicit affirmative action from contractors that would participate in the program. In addition to that, there's now requirements in place that contractors that participate in the project will have to document effort to provide the opportunity for filling jobs with Section 3 individuals or businesses, and those are basically low, moderate income residents that will be in and around the areas that will be impacted by this project. So there's not to say that you know, the goal is that these plans have to be provided to the state as a process so that they can release the funds and the town can move forward with activity. There's certainly an opportunity to revise or revisit any and all of these plans as the state reviews these. They may come back and ask for some further clarifications or revisions to do. So what we're just asking for is just kind of start that process to provide the initial approval of those policies and plans, designates the town manager as the contact person, and upon your consideration, get them signed and we'll submit them to the appropriate agency to document that the town has complied with the conditions of the grant agreement that you've agreed to accept.
So this $750,000, we've been awarded that?
You've been awarded and you've accepted that. And that will address housing needs and will also provide handicapped accessible bathrooms to the Arts Council building.
Yeah, okay. Forgot what I was going. Oh, have you come up with a method to determine who?
That will be, you know, part of what you're going to adopt is going to be a citizen participation plan, and so there will have to be a group will have to be developed that will also engage the public and establish the priorities in terms of how to evaluate potential homeowners that will qualify under the program and bring those back for the town to consider individually to participate in the program.
Who's going to appoint that group?
The town board will ultimately approve that group, and what you will do is that we will essentially assist in putting a group of names together in the area or areas that can serve to help not only distribute information in terms of contact and everything else, but also to gather names of potential individuals who may benefit from participation in the program.
That's what that group will do?
Yes, sir.
How big a group are you talking about?
You really want to keep it between 5 and 7, just not too big, but enough that that people that know the area and provide good representation of of the individuals really throughout town, and that can be community leaders, representatives of some of the church groups, some of the some of your housing authority personnel, some of those that have a pretty good feel of where the housing needs are within town.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Rich? All right, now you were saying this is for the,
First one will be for the Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization Grant that the town has accepted.
we're accepting that,
You've already accepted the grant.
yeah,
This will be to approve the program compliance plans and policies.
all right. Okay. Approve the program plans and policies, okay. Neighborhood residential, okay. Is there a motion that we approve this?
Mayor, I make a motion we approve the program plans and policies for the neighborhood revitalization portion of the CDBG grant 2018.
All right, y'all heard the motion by Commissioner Dixon. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. All right, you got some more, right?
All right, the second thing is the exact same policies or plans and policies. This will be related to the $1,625,000 grant the town has just been offered from the Division of Water Infrastructure. That grant will be used to specifically replace sanitary sewer infrastructure in what we prefer to describe as Basin 5. The town currently has about a $1.7 million grant in place through the State Wastewater Reserve Program that will replace sewer essentially from the impacted streets from the CVS to the railroad tracks, using Field Street and Main Street as the other boundaries. The $1.625 million will continue that sewer replacement basically from the railroad track all the way up to where the BB&T is almost. Again, using Main Street and Field Street as a division line. So ultimately, when all these projects are implemented, pretty much what has been left as 40-year-old sanitary sewer collection lines will all be replaced with new sewers, and all the streets will be repaired and resurfaced. Even though this program is strictly infrastructure with no housing activities in it whatsoever, because it has that HUD touch in it, the town is still required to adopt specific plans and policies related to that grant. And so what we've got for your consideration is the exact same plans and policies as you just adopted, but this one will be specifically for the 2018 Community Development Block Grant Infrastructure Grant.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, Commissioner Dixon, you ready?
Make a motion we adopt the program plans and policies for the infrastructure CDBG grant.
All right, you've heard the motion by Commissioner Dixon. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. Now, there's one other item, right?
One other item with three
Wait,
actions.
we don't need a second on these motions, do we?
No. This is going to be specific to the $1,625,000 Community Development Block Grant Infrastructure Grant. The town has been offered. The town has that grant, the letter of intent to fund and the grant agreement in hand. In order to formally accept those grant funds, the town needs to take three specific actions that we've got for your consideration. One, we've got a resolution to accept that grant offer and authorize the mayor to sign that grant agreement. The second is to adopt a budget of the Community Development Block Grant Infrastructure Funds. This particular program is a 100% grant. There is no local tax dollars or local funds involved in this one. This is going to be a straight $1,625,000 grant. So you've got an authorization to adopt the budget as part of that acceptance. And then the third item you've got is that you're going to authorize the town manager to initiate the procurement and contract services portion of the program. The state, as part of the offer, has invited and is requiring the town to attend a workshop to not only go over processing of the CDBG infrastructure program, but also to go over the new procurement provisions and requirements that are being imposed on this program that the town will have to honor. And so what we're doing is just kind of putting that into motion, that recognizing that the town will have to participate in that workshop and be a part of it, but you're going to authorize the mayor to go ahead and initiate the procurement, once he has satisfied those workshop requirements. So we've got 3 separate resolutions for your consideration that accomplish those 3 activities.
You want 3 different?
If I think that would be better.
All right. Anybody got any questions?
I do, if you don't. Sorry.
I do too.
I'll try. Hey, this is really, this is gonna become not news because we've had a lot of cool news tonight, but this is really good for Farmville, and thank y'all for absolutely getting it done. And it's, news that once it goes into action, once people can see it, yes, they'll think back and say, wow, that really is great. What's your schedule? Do we have a bid that will, of the 1.4, whatever it is? Do we have somebody who'll do the work for that?
No,
you anticipate having the work being able to be done for that?
Yeah, there's a timeline they put you on in terms of, to implement the project. The existing, the existing state wastewater reserve project that was awarded, that the town accepted, earlier this year. That 1.7 million plus, the bid and design package for that work has been submitted to the state in accordance with the timeline, and all we are waiting for is formal approval from the state to authorize us to bid that project. It's not really related to this. I anticipate that we'll have that authorization this week that will allow us to bid that one. Then if we bid that one, we'll have a contractor in place. The scheduling of this one's going to lag behind it about 6 months, but if everything would work as good as soon as that one is complete, this one would be available to bid and kind of pick it up and kind of continue that construction progress.
Okay. But and so you probably would do some kind of, we'd get a good price from the contractor because he's already in town.
Hopefully.
Theoretically.
Yeah, and hopefully it's a contractor that you want to give you a good price.
But if it becomes 2.5 million, are we on the hook for the, I'm just asking because I don't understand.
Right.
If we can't get a bid for what we have been granted, will we be granted more, or will we go back to the drawing board?
You have 2 options at that point. If your bids come in excess of what your project budget is, the first thing is to ask for more money. This program has a cap of $2 million.
Okay.
So you do have the ability to get back to the state and say, hey, we experienced an overrun, and they may consider providing a funding gap between the 1.6 and $2 million. If that's not a possibility, your next option is to reduce the scope to bring it into balance with the available funds.
Okay.
The goal of the project is to not impose any borrowing on the town or town cash in the project. The goal is to build the project with the funds allocated.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Any more comments? So, you understand what you want to make a motion?
Well enough to act on behalf of the town of Farmville, I do, yes.
Because he said he had 3.
Got 3 activities outlined in your agenda description.
When we make the motion to authorize the manager to procure and service contracts, we're authorizing him to advertise for bids. Is that what that is?
Only for the technical, legal, administration aspects of it.
We don't have to ask for bids. We can negotiate directly.
Yeah, once you procure those services, then
Yes.
you will be that person will be responsible for carrying you through the bidding process.
I understand. Thank you.
All right. You ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution to accept the CDBG infrastructure grant offer.
All right. You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of this motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ayes have it. All right, you're doing good.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we approve the budget for the program.
All right. The motion is that we approve the the money for the program. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. All right, you want to roll?
Sure, I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution approving the manager to contract services to administer the program.
Okay, very good. All right, you heard the motion, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, does that take care of you, Rick?
That takes care of me, I appreciate it.
Okay, I hope we did the right thing.
Oh, yes, sir.
If not,
Oh, yes.
if not, we'll look at that, we'll look at
Good job,
Commissioner
Rick.
Dixon.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dixon. So he led us into it. All right, that takes care of all the agenda items. We're down to citizen comments now. That's where you can address this board about anything you've seen or heard tonight, if you'd like to. Don't have to sign up, just come forward. All right, since there's no one there, then we,
Yeah, I have something.
okay.
Sorry, I always have something. I really want to say something about last week here in Farmville. It was a huge week. We started out with a very unfortunate shooting that had nothing to do with any Farmville citizens. They were from out of town, but it affected a tremendous amount of people. And I think that our police department and our EMS department and the fire department, I'm sure they helped block streets, did an amazing job of keeping our citizens safe and getting help where it needed to have been gotten. We also had an animal cruelty case this week that I was involved with a little bit, that our police department was spot on about getting that puppy some help, and she is in a foster home and is excelling thanks to the dedication of our police department on Friday afternoon. And then let's don't forget Thursday, which was our mini 5-minute windstorm that came through here and created quite a bit of destruction. To be perfectly honest, when I realized there was an issue was about 5 minutes after it all happened, when the fire whistle started going off and nothing had happened at my house. It was just as calm as, but I had no cell phone service. And the last time I didn't have any cell phone service was April of the year that the tornadoes came in through Snow Hill and hit our town. So I immediately went out and started looking around town to see where I could help and see what was going on, and was just shocked. And then Commissioner Moore managed to get through to me because none of us had any cell phone coverage. And so he headed to the town hall and met up with Chief Green, and he went with Chief Green till about 10:30, I guess, that night. I headed to the police department and the town hall to see where I could help, and I ended up being the errand person for food because we had some hungry people. But I really want to thank and my mother was a rock star because she had cooked food and was fixing sandwiches, ham sandwiches and spaghetti, hot dogs as fast as I would say I need what I need. But the biggest rock stars in this town were, starting with Amber Tripp, who is a dispatcher for the Farmville Police Department. And I'm telling y'all, she's a rock star. She never let it slow her down. She never sat down and I stayed at the police department until about probably 10:30 or 20 to 11. She never sat down the entire time, the hours that I was there, and she was answering those phones. Just telling them what she needed to know. And then the other people that were out and about, and I want to be very careful that I'm not going to name individual names, but I am going to name departments. The fire department, the electrical and linemen that we have, our EMS department, Public Works, our police department, and our citizens, because I'm going to tell you that while I was out riding around in those first 45 minutes, there were already citizens helping other citizens the best that they could. And our town was very fortunate in that we had no one injured. There's no major damage to any home or business. It's just a bunch of beautiful trees that suffered the damage. But I think that our town is very fortunate in that even though they didn't have everything that they needed and cell phone service was down, which was awful, they all ran like just a fine-tooth comb. They might have to drive over to where Wes was to tell him something, and Wes might have to drive over to where Chief Green was, but they were getting it across. And it not having the cell phone service, it was unbelievable. And there are people trying to find out what's going on, and Amber was a rock star. So I want to thank you all for everything that you did. I saw a whole different side of our town that night, because I was able to be in place to see what was going on. And I want to thank you all for that.
Okay,
And
thank you.
one more thing.
Okay.
I want to thank Commissioner Moore for this deal that has been worked out for our fire department, because it is a very sweet, sweet deal, and we are going to benefit greatly for it in more ways than one. And he, along with David Hodgkins, did a huge amount of work to try to get that worked out. So I'm very appreciative of that too. Now I'll be quiet.
Is that
Mr.
it?
Biden. Yes, sir. Sorry.
All right, anyone else? If not, we do have another closed session on the agenda, and this one is to discuss the personnel, which is personnel matter, which is authorized to us by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6. So a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion, we go into closed
Okay.
session.
All right, any discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're now in closed session.